What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of We Talk Freely. Today we've got a bunch of news stories to cover and very little time to do it, so I'm going to try to move through as quickly as possible. My name is Drew Smith. This is brought to you by Green Table Gaming and the Local Spin. Definitely go check them out. Green Table Gaming will be posting new live gaming videos here in the next few weeks. Local Spin is producing some great news broadcasts. I definitely suggest you go over to their channel, check it out. They got a show called Get Real America with Bill Edwards and Brittany Brown. Great people, great news. Especially if you're a local Georgia resident, I highly suggest checking that out. But let me go ahead and get started with the news today. There's very interesting stuff coming out. From Global Research, we have an article that actually goes along with what a lot of quote conspiracy theorists have been saying for a long time. Let me bring this up here for you guys. I remembered to duplicate today. I'm on it today. Maybe not with my hotkeys. All right, so the New York Times admits it sends stories to U.S. government for approval before publication. The New York Times has publicly acknowledged that it sends some of its stories to the U.S. government for approval from national security officials before publication, as it says in the article. This confirms what veteran New York Times correspondent James Risen has said. The American newspaper of record regularly collaborates with U.S. government suppressing reporting that top officials don't want to make public. Guys, this is a huge breach of trust right here. This is something that a lot of conservatives have been talking about for a long time. Saying that the real information has not been getting out to the people. And, you know, if we look at other platforms like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, you know, old Twitter, even maybe the new X, there's been a lot of really crazy censorship that's going on. And for most people, they try to trust mainstream media news. When you flip on the TV or when you look there in your social media timelines and stuff like that, you want to see good, trustworthy information. Now, how trustworthy is the information if it's constantly being filtered out by the people it may hurt? You know, it'd be like in a murder trial or something like that, and the prosecution runs all the evidence by the defendant who's accused of murder. Hey, do you mind if I turn this into the judge against your case first? You know, it doesn't make sense. You know, if you're researching a story, you're researching some events, you have things that are going on like this, and you're a news agency, you can't sit there and let the people that could be affected filter this information. Now, I understand maybe filtering out some private information of individuals that could be harmed in the whole thing outside of the person who's accused of the problem, but sending all your information in to get filtered by the U.S. government before you report on the U.S. government seems like a shot in the foot, really. And it's created a lot of division between most people. But this isn't the only story that we see this from. Definitely check that out. That's at the globalresearch.ca or globalresearch.org. You should be able to find that story. It goes way further into detail than what I'm putting out here, but definitely a good read. The next story I wanted to go over. Let's see, make sure there's no pop-ups. Okay. Right here. Meh. There we go. Just the News is reporting Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson alleges CDC participated in censoring information on the vax. Whoa. So, like, this is exactly what I was just talking about in the previous article here. Let me read into it. Ron Johnson has accused Center for Disease Control and Prevention of working with social media companies to censor information regarding the vaccine. Based on recent information I've received, quote, it is clear that CDC abused its authority by engaging in censorship campaign to suppress and discredit certain viewpoints it labeled as misinformation, Johnson wrote in a letter to the CDC director, Dr. Mandy Cohen, earlier this week. In the letter, Johnson cites an incident when one of his social media posts about the COVID vaccine was labeled as misleading and requested that CDC give over documents regarding communications between social media companies and the CDC. Guys, this didn't just happen to Ron Johnson. This happened to me and many other Americans across the board. A lot of people were raising questions about things that were going on. And if you remember, when this thing rolled out, it was experimental. There was no real research data or anything of the sort. So you had a lot of people out there that were scrambling and searching for any kinds of bits of information they could find. People were worried. You know, they were forced to go get these injections. They were forced to make decisions upon their medical future. And they just wanted good information. You know, if people were more honest about the effects, more honest about the situations and the events that were happening at the time, people would be able to make adjustments in their lives that most likely could have prevented a lot of harm. We're still looking to see all the real true information on all of this. But if we have the CDC or people that are involved in medications or anything like this censoring the information that's coming out, that puts the entire American population, probably even the world population, at a standstill with no progression on what's to happen next. So this is something that you should definitely be paying attention to. Highly suggest that you pay attention to Senator Ron Johnson and his efforts to get this information out there. I'm pretty sure my video here is going to be throttled because I'm talking about this stuff. But if it is, I highly suggest go over to Rumble, search up W.T.F official, and follow that page there, because every single one of my episodes that I put here on YouTube, you will also find there on Rumble. And if I eventually do get banned off of the YouTube website, you will always find me there. So please, and when you go to follow me on that Rumble, make sure you share this out to your friends and let people see, because a lot of this stuff is not circulating in the mainstream because, well, censorship is still happening. Next story we have today, and normally I don't give a lot of credit to sources like this, but I thought this was actually a very interesting article here, and it actually does reflect a lot of truth that's going on. Headline from CNBC today says 61% of Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. Inflation is still squeezing budgets. And honestly, this is the understatement of the year right here. When people are paying twice as much for gas, interest rates for homes has over doubled. The cost of groceries have, in some cases, doubled to tripled in cost. Yeah, living paycheck to paycheck is a nice way of putting it. The article goes on to say the battle against inflation is not over. As of July, 61% of adults still said they are living from paycheck to paycheck, according to a new Lending Club report, slightly more than last year's 59%. No, honestly, nobody in this country should be living from paycheck to paycheck. People should be able to save up. People should be able to invest. People should have extra money in their pockets. You know, when I was growing up, you know, I'm in my early 40s here, and when I was a kid, we had a very strong, booming economy. We had families traditionally going out on summer vacations and spending a lot of money. Christmases were pretty nice for a lot of Americans. There was a lot more to go around. Not saying that it was perfect, not saying that everybody was doing well, but things were a lot better back then than they are now. And so we have Biden out there talking about how Bidenomics is working and how everything is getting better. But personally, to me, I'm not seeing it. And everyone I talk to, they're not seeing it either. I want to know who out there really thinks that this Biden economy has really turned things around and that things are doing better. How many people are seeing the benefits of all the good stuff that he Joe Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre are both reporting all the time. Is your world getting better? Is the economy treating you well? Let me know in the comments down below. But I'm not, like I said, I know I'm not the only person that's thinking that or feeling that, because here's somebody else that is feeling the same way. Quoting Bidenomics. This came across my feed. I don't have her name. I recognize her, and I'm probably going to get roasted for not knowing. But check this little audio clip out here. I like what she had to say in this, and I think it's very, very relevant about the Bidenomics. Oh, hold on. Little audio faux pas. I knew I couldn't get through an episode without having an issue. Give me 1 second. I got that still playing in my headphones. Alright, let me...
On TikTok today that made me stop in my tracks.
We are living in the silent depression.
This guy believes we are not just living in worse than the Great Depression, we're living in the silent depression. The average annual income in 1930 for an American individual was a little over $4,800. Sounds like nothing, but if you adjust that for inflation, a little over $4,800 a year in 1930 is equivalent to almost $85,000 annually for the average salary for one person. Right now, the average annual salary is $56,000 a year. We currently are making less than the height of the Great Depression. In 1930, gas was on average 10 cents a gallon. That would be about $1.73. In case you haven't filled up your car lately, average cost of a gallon of gas is $3.55. To buy a new car in 1930 would have been about $860. It's worth about 15 grand. The average cost of a new car today is $48,000. And of course, the most coveted aspect of the American dream, being able to buy a house in 1930, cost about $3,900, less than $70,000. I spend way too much time on Zillow, so maybe this isn't surprising to me, but the average price of a home in America today is $416,000. How could we be living through worse cost of living and wages than 1930? And no politician, no media outlet, no one is talking about it.
That's Bidenomics. It's about growing an economy by strengthening.
She brings up some great points there. I mean, the dollar does not go as far as it used to. It doesn't go as far at all. Like, I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately, but I'm sure you have. These prices have gotten insane. And income is not matching the inflation at all. You know, I've looked through the job sites and things like that, doing a little bit of research myself, and I'm still seeing jobs that are offering, you know, and hard-working jobs too, nonetheless, offering between $20,000 and $30,000 a year. And like she says, we need over $80,000 a year just to match the same level of income as during the Great Depression. So where is Bidenomics actually working? Who's this actually working for? I know it's not working for this guy or anybody else around him. I think it's very disgusting. And I think it's gross that you have people like Karine Jean-Pierre going on her little press stand there saying that things have gotten better, that the Biden economy is amazing. And realistically, all she's doing is, you know, campaigning for Joe Biden, because she knows that if Joe Biden loses the next election, she loses her job. So I don't know about you, but I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of the BS. And it's time that news agencies start talking about this more. And I will give a little bit of kudos here to CNBC for finally saying something about it. You know, maybe they've said something in the past before. I haven't seen it, but kudos to them for at least pointing this out. Maybe somebody will wake up from that. I don't know. But speaking of people that need to wake up, let's see here. Brian Kemp is somebody who needs to wake up. Tell me you don't want to win your next election, or you don't want to run for another election without saying you don't want to run for another election. Just in from the Gateway Pundit, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp rejects state lawmakers' effort to remove Fulton County DA Fannie Willis. You know, in this article, and this time I did forget. Give me this. All right. It says, and quote the Gateway Pundit on this, Rhino, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp on Thursday rejected a state lawmaker's effort to remove Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis, Fannie. I've been hearing people say it different ways. I don't know which way it's supposed to be said from office. The Georgia Freedom Caucus on Thursday held a press conference on Fulton County DA Fannie Willis's RICO and conspiracy indictment against Trump. Earlier this month, Fannie Willis hit President Trump and 18 others with RICO conspiracy charges for daring to challenge the 2020 election. You know, just on that alone, the whole case should be thrown out. You have a DA that, and I showed you in previous episodes, you have a DA here who challenged previous elections herself, is now coming out and trying to charge Trump and his legal team and the people around him for doing the same literal thing that she did on social media, in writing, in front of everybody in the public. How is that even a legal part of the process? It'd be like saying, you know, using the murder reference from earlier, you know, that's a murderer who's gone around killing people, now trying other people for murder. The hypocrisy is obscene here. You know, how many Democrats have we seen election after election after election come out and say, oh, it was rigged, something wasn't right, and all these different things? They made these same claims, but this time they're going after Donald Trump, which has become one of the biggest backfires for most Democrats across the board. And so now they're desperately trying to use this tool to prevent Donald Trump from being able to run again. You know, if they are able to knock him off of the Georgia ballot, and with Brian Kemp supporting this nonsense, most likely we won't even have a spot to do a write-in. But even if we did have a spot to do a write-in here in Georgia, there's going to be a huge selection of people who are only going to vote for the choices that they're given. A lot of people don't pay attention to politics. A lot of people don't pay attention to these processes. And when they see that little slot to write in, but they see a multiple choice for other candidates, they're not going to write in. They're just going to select what's easily available. Now, Brian Kemp, like I said in previous episodes, he is not connected to his voters here. Like, I'm one of them. I made the mistake of voting this fool in, but my options were not very good. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place having to vote for him, and if there was a better choice, I promise you, I definitely would have voted the better choice. But Brian Kemp goes on to say, quote, as a Georgia State Senator, excuse me, excuse me, that's not his quote. Let me find my spot in here. Anyway, just to move forward. Brian Kemp blocking this, you know, there's a legal process that we follow here in Georgia. If there's a committee of people that want to challenge what Fannie Willis is doing, then he should support, especially because they're members of his party. Brian Kemp is the GOP leader in the state of Georgia, and for him to stand against his own party people, like I said, that's basically saying without saying that he does not want to run for his seat again. Personally, I'm over it, and I can't wait to vote him out. But I really, really am looking hard at the GOP here in Chatham County. I'm really looking hard for them to find a candidate that will well replace Brian Kemp. We don't need any more rhinos, like they say in this article, right here. Rhino. That's exactly what he is. He's Republican in name only. Because the real Republicans I know out here are very concerned about that 2020 election that he says that we need to stop paying attention to. You know, real Republicans want to get to the bottom of this, and they don't want any more of this political circus that's going on against Trump. You don't see Republicans of any kind going out there and creating erroneous charges and attacking people's free speech just to win elections. We want this to be a fair game. Now, I myself am not a Republican. I am a conservative through and through. But I side with Republicans on most issues. And I'm looking to the GOP, the Republican Party, and conservative members to find a solution for this mistake. I know I'm responsible for it too, and I'm not happy about it. Oh, let's see here. Moving forward, if you remember in last episode, we had the Don't Tread on Me kid. You know, we had an article here from Real Clear Politics. Give me my tab. And they're still talking about what happened with this kid, and I think that's great to keep it up in the media. And mainly they're talking about the Charlie Kirk interview, which I think is great. Benny Johnson also interviewed this young gentleman here about the whole Gadsden flag. Now, I hope you guys had a chance to research it and find out what it's about. And you should know by now it has nothing to do with slavery. It has nothing to do with oppressing a race of people or anything of that nature. And so he has every right to wear it. And actually, I'm wearing something very similar to it in honor of this kid. I think he did a great job. And Charlie Kirk went on to interview him, and in this article it says that Charlie Kirk interviews Jaden, the Colorado 12-year-old who made national news after being kicked out of class for wearing the Gadsden flag patch on his backpack that his teacher claimed was a symbol of slavery. And this is why knowledge is so important, and it's a part of why I'm doing this show. It's why you guys at the top of the screen can see every single link that I put up. I don't do that thing that a lot of other streamers do where we just focus on one small thing. I want you to see exactly where my data is coming from so you guys can go check it out yourselves and read up on these articles and get educated yourself. But it says in this article, quote, "If it didn't go viral, they'd probably suspend me," Jaden speaking, "if I didn't listen to them," he said. "We definitely gave her a history lesson. Homeschooling is not bad, but I was trying to stand up for all kids there who are just rule followers and have to endure liberal teachers. And thanks to the video going viral, I'm going back to school with the Don't Tread on Me patch proudly on." Good on you, sir. Good on you. And honestly, House Republicans, all Republicans, you could take some notes from this kid. I see too many Republicans all over the place, even independents, just completely roll over and not do anything when these kinds of infringements happen. And so if you look at where we're at today, that's literally why. Nobody wants to stand up and do the right thing anymore. So this young man actually goes on to say he has advice to other kids. Ponder this question. Would you rather have friends but live under a tyrannical system, or stand up for yourself and your rights and maybe lose a few friends? What great wisdom. I can tell you firsthand. About 10, 12 years ago, I got on this train of saying, yo, this isn't right. What's happening in today's society is not right. And I'll tell you, my friends list cleared out. Everybody wanted to jump on that whole go along, get along bandwagon and just go along with whatever was popular. And now look at where we're at today. Children are being harmed. Innocent adults are being locked up. Our dollar is diminished. Our jobs and businesses have closed up permanently. There's destruction from coast to coast, from border to border, all over our nation because everybody just wanted to stay out of it. They didn't want to get involved in politics. They didn't want to talk about it. They were too afraid and, dare I say, even too cowardly to stand up for what's right. Everyone's obsessed with that little number of friends that they have on their Facebook or their Instagram or even on X and all of that. But they don't realize that they're going to lose all of that when their country falls to poor leadership. I stand for what this kid is doing. Very proud of him for doing it. Proud of him for sticking to his guns. And I'm even more proud of his parents for standing up for their child. There's so many parents out here that just refuse to do that, to refuse to do the right thing. They're so worried, again, that they'll lose their friends or that people might not like them anymore because of what their child is doing. But when your child is doing the right thing like this is when you're supposed to stand up for them, not when it's politically best in your interests. This is ridiculous, and it's got to stop. Thank you to Jaden's parents here. Keep up the great work. You're raising a fantastic kid. Now, he did go on the Benny Johnson show, and wouldn't mind sharing this with you. I thought it was kind of cool. This kid is doing things, and this is a little clip from that interview. So you should definitely, I think Benny Johnson is on Rumble, correct me if I'm wrong, on YouTube. He's on various platforms. Go check him out. Check out the interviews and stuff that he's doing. He is putting in some great work.
I made it known that I stood up to this tyrannical little system in our school, and now it's much looser with it. And also, one funny thing, kids are printing out "Don't Tread on Me" and putting it on their locker, and it's really annoying to the teachers.
So wait a second. So you're inspiring your own Gadsden flag revolution in your school?
Yeah. In a couple of days, I'm gonna get like a order of like 40 Gadsden patches. Not that big, like about, let's see, I'll take this off. 40 of these,
Nice.
and I'm gonna give them all to my friends.
Nice.
I made it known that I stood up to this tyrannical little system in our school.
What a cool kid, man. Like, I'm so glad that he's doing what he's doing, that he's standing up for what he believes in. He should. He really should. And that's what makes this country great. You know, standing up for your rights, standing up for your freedoms. That's exactly what this kid is doing. And I think y'all should definitely show him some love and some support. When you see these articles circulating around, you know, give them a like, give them a love, whatever it is that it takes to get these stories pumped up in the algorithms. More stories like this need to circulate. You know, this is a feel-good story here. I'm glad to see our youth is actually standing up for what's right and what they believe is right. And it gives me a little bit of faith. It gives me a little bit of hope. I'm excited to see it. All right, with all that being said, I wanted to point out some interesting things that the Biden administration has done. So you guys remember the Hawaii fires that happened recently and the devastation and heartache that's been happening since. Well, here from ABC News, let me get this up. Biden pledges, before this becomes annoying, Biden pledges $95 million to help Maui recover from wildfires. That sounds really good until you actually get down into the nitty-gritty of this article. So this article goes to say, President Joe Biden has announced $95 million from the bipartisan infrastructure law. Oh, infrastructure. Will be given to Hawaii to aid Maui's rebuilding efforts following the devastating wildfires. We're not only building back, but we're going to build back a stronger and more resilient future, which means we need to withstand any challenge coming our way in rebuilding the way Maui wants to rebuild, Biden said during Wednesday's press conference. On August 8th, several fires spread rapidly across the island due to dry conditions and winds. Maui officials say downed power lines were likely behind the blaze. At least 115 people have been declared dead and thousands of structures have been destroyed. when you dig a little bit deeper into this article, you find out Biden said the money will go towards putting electrical wires underground where possible, using stronger poles to hold up electrical wires, clearing brush, and potential kindling from above the ground wires. So Biden is investing $95 million into electrical infrastructure. Well, how much is he investing into the people? That's the question that I have here. And I have been hearing report after report after report that the people really aren't getting very much. So I go here to the whitehouse.gov briefing room statements, and it says here, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, announced last week $1.3 million in funding allocation to help communities on Maui in the wake of wildfires. Wait, so let me get this straight. We're putting $95 million into repairing the electrical grid, but are only offering the people who are most affected by all of this $1.3 million. So now all those Twitter posts and different social media posts that I'm seeing that people are saying they're only getting $700 in aid, now that makes sense. Now, how's that going to help? Like, going back to the beginning of this episode, we were talking about inflation and how expensive everything is getting. And from what I understand, everything in Hawaii is already much more expensive as it is anyways. Because, like, you know, you think about it, there's not a lot of farmland and things like that to feed the people out there. Plus you have all the tourists and stuff that come through. So they have to import everything. So everything has a much greater cost just on that alone. So $700, what's that going to get them? At most 2 weeks worth of groceries? What are they going to do? What about their homes? What about all the stuff that they lost? What about their jobs? Like, one thing that a lot of people don't think about is a lot of people that worked in that area now don't have a job to go back to because it's literally burnt to the ground. And the whole area is shut down. So where are these people living? In hotels? How cheap are those hotels right now? I'm pretty sure that they're costing a pretty penny. So only $1.3 million to help these people. So I find that disgusting. So let me ask you this. Where is that money going? Well, I found where some of that money is going. While Biden is only sending $1.3 million to the people of Hawaii that are completely devastated, that lost loved ones and lost their homes, lost their jobs, lost everything to their name, he's hooking up the auto industry. $15 billion. $15 billion. But it only has 1.3 million with an M for the people that are dealing with a disaster right now. Priorities are screwed here. What is this? Let me read into this. This article here from Electrek I found today. It says Biden gives lifeline to legacy automakers with $15 billion to retrofit existing factories for EV production. As part of President Biden's Investing in America agenda, the U.S. Department of Energy announced a $15.5 billion package of funding and loans primarily focused on retooling existing factories for the transition to electric vehicles, supporting good jobs, and a transition to EVs. How many of these auto manufacturers are in Hawaii? Is any of this money going to help those people? How is it that they get so much money to upgrade their factories? Any other manufacturing business out here, we would have to pay that out of our own pocket to make those kind of upgrades. But Biden's able to find our tax dollars, our money, to give to these auto manufacturers who are already making millions upon billions of dollars. He's going to give them a $15.5 billion boost while shafting his own voters down there in Hawaii. I find this disgusting, at best. The article goes on to say, the money is split between grants and loans for retooling existing factories for EV production and battery production. This includes making available $2 billion in grants and up to $10 billion in loans. $2 billion in grants. $2 billion would go a long way to help those people in Hawaii. You think of how many months or maybe even years it's going to take. I don't know if you guys have seen, they put up a border wall around the burned down area there in Maui. And they're still trying to recover bodies. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with the land. And that's another story coming up, because apparently Maui is going to be using its police powers to take the land from the natives and the people that live there. And they're obviously going to sell it to wealthy investors. So, I got to ask you this. What happened to the Democrats preaching about helping the less fortunate, helping the people, when, and all we see here is Democrats helping wealthy people get wealthier. I see Biden's EV initiative getting a boost, but I don't see money for children's funerals that died in these fires. I don't see any help for these families or anything in their future. Not $1.3 million. That's nothing. That is nothing. But we got billions of dollars to help out companies like Ford and Chevy and different auto manufacturers like that, which nothing against those auto manufacturers specifically. But they shouldn't be getting this kind of money when we have people suffering like that. I think, again, it is disgusting. I'll say it a million times. This whole administration is disgusting. The priorities that they have put forward are just killing Americans, destroying Americans. There's nothing good that is coming out of this administration for you and me at all. I'm a taxpayer. Most of you watching this are taxpayers. Is this really where you want your money going to? No, I think all of that initiative can get put on hold until I know that the people of Maui are taken care of. I know that that place is overwhelmingly blue, and I've heard a few people say you get what you vote for. But this is not the time to be making those kind of arguments. Those people need help. They'll learn. They'll learn every bit of what their policies have done, if they haven't already. But in the meantime, we need to be helping them and showing them what goodness really is. Close all that out. But at least there are still some alright people out there. There we go. Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson launch Maui Relief Fund with $10 million after devastating wildfires. Just these two, right here, put down more than 5 times what the federal government is going to be helping these people with. How gross is that? We gotta come out of pocket, or wealthy people. Well, I'm happy. I really am happy that they're willing to do that. Kudos. I'm clapping for them. That's fantastic. But they should not be able to outdo our federal government at that level. Maybe a little bit, but not at this level. I mean, right out the box. This article says Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne Johnson have committed $10 million to make direct payments to people on Maui who are unable to return to their homes because of the wildfires through a new fund they announced Thursday. The People's Fund of Maui will give $1,200 a month to adults who are not able to return to their primary residence because of the recent wildfires, including people who owned and rented their homes, according to the fund's website. The fund will also seek donations to extend the length of time it can provide support. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for helping those people out. Because Lord knows, Joe Biden ain't going to do it. He didn't want to go down there. He doesn't want to help these people. He just wants to go sit on a beach somewhere. $700 a month from the federal government. And here comes Oprah and The Rock to at least add something to it. You know, $1,200 plus the $700, $2,100 a month. That's not enough to live here in Georgia. And this is one of the more cost-efficient places to live. But it's something. Holy crap, it's something. You know, honestly, you can't really live comfortably around this area here in Savannah, Georgia, unless you're making $3,000 to $4,000 a month, and that's barely comfortable. That's still at the paycheck to paycheck thing. If you're a mom or a dad or, you know, whatever, these people are barely going to have $1,200 or $2,000 in their pocket. I don't know how they're going to make it down there, and so if you guys want, definitely check out their website. Donate in every instance that you can. Of course, make sure that you verify the different charities and things that are going on for those people. Make sure you're donating to responsible places. I don't have a specific one to suggest today, but anything that you guys can give, any kind of love you can give to those people down there, I'm sure would be greatly appreciated. And I'm sure there's going to be some calls for help. You know, we just got done dealing with the hurricane here in the southeast of the United States, and I'm sure that there's some families that are going to need help down there in Florida. Right before I started recording, I was reading an article that says that there are 3 reported deaths down there in Florida. So please, you know, keep those people in your prayers, keep them in your thoughts, and if there's anything you can do to reach out to those people as well, I highly suggest, I beg that you do. This has gotten crazy, especially when you think about it like this. In the past, I want to say 16 to 18 months, the Biden administration has given over $43 billion to the war efforts in Ukraine. I want you to wrap your mind around that. We only have $1.3 million for the people in Hawaii, but we got $95 million, almost $100 million to give to the electrical grid down there. So maybe almost $100 million in aid to Hawaii. But they got $43+ billion to give to war in a country that doesn't even pay taxes to our federal government. This administration is insanely backwards. To all my leftist friends out there, I know you don't like the things that I say about Biden. I know you don't like the things that I'm inferring towards Democrats or anything like that. But it's time to wake up and get real about it all. Our people are hurting. Democrats are hurting. Republicans are hurting. Independents are hurting. The people of this country are hurting. You know, in a later episode, I'm going to get into the immigration stuff. There's a place for all of that. But for now, I want you to just kind of think about the American people. How many times do you see videos in your timeline with people ODing on drugs, or people robbing stores, businesses shutting down, crimes happening, just chaos? For over 50 years, we heard from Democrats just like Joe Biden that party was going to lift minorities out of poverty and give them a better place to live. Is this country a better place to live today? With unemployment rising, businesses shutting down, more and more people dependent on government assistance that is quickly drying up. Our US dollar is falling in value in totality. Products are getting more expensive and nobody's getting raises. How is this better for our minority friends? You know, take white people out of this whole thing. 'Cause we're suffering too. But what minority group has been lifted up? Who has really benefited from any of this other than the white Democrats at the top? They're the only ones that seem to be making a crap ton of money right now. The Bidens definitely aren't hurting. They're not down here in the mud with us. But no, that's why I'm starting to see reports showing that, you know, in the black vote specifically, polls are showing that it's going 6% positive Trump to almost 20% positive to Trump. I think that's because people in general, not just black folk, but people in general of all races are waking up to the nonsense. Democrats are not the party of the people. They never have been. Democrats are the party of racial divide, of war, of hate. Every policy that they've put in has created some kind of division or some kind of unfairness from one race or one gender to another. You know, 20 years ago, it was nothing for gay people to walk around and be accepted in the communities. Heck, myself and my ex-fiance, a long time ago, we used to go to one of the local clubs and enjoy the Rocky Horror Picture Show that they used to do at I think the place is called Club One here in Savannah. It was a hoot. It was funny. I had a lot of fun. Got along with the people great. Not my scene. But there was no hate, division, or anything like that. But if I went in there today, dressed as I normally do, wearing my hat with the American flag on the side, I wouldn't be accepted. Why is that? It's because Democrats have used people like the ones involved in the LGBT communities. They've used people of color, minorities, immigrants. They've used them as weapons. And they've turned them all against us. Turned all of us against each other. That's all this Democrat Party is about, y'all. There is no unification. I'm a DJ. I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what color you are. Just when you come into my club or my party or whatever it is I'm DJing, make sure you have a good time. That's all I care about. But yet these people would go out there and tell you, because of the color of my skin, that I hate you. That's just not true. It's not true at all. I'm sick of the division, folks. I'm sick of watching people get used. I'm sick of watching people get stepped on so a rich politician can gain a higher position in office and get even richer. You know, you see these people investing, these politicians investing in all these companies. You see all the stories about how the Bidens are using their name for influence. Where's your cut? Where's your profits? You know, at the very least, if they're going to make all that money, our money should come up. Our industries in this country should grow. More jobs should be created. But instead, we're watching industry after industry after industry get shut down. I'm watching more and more people get poorer. All of us are suffering more and more and more. How many of you guys recently went out and bought a house? Think about that price that you're financing now. Very soon we're going to see a real estate pop. And you're going to be stuck holding a $300,000-$400,000 house when the prices of that house go back down to $100-something thousand. And when you go to sell it, you're only going to be able to sell it for like $100-something thousand. But you're still going to be responsible for paying $200,000-$300,000 more loan on a property that wasn't worth what you paid for in the first place. These people are sucking us dry. Higher taxes, inflated everything. And at the end of the day, you and I have to pay for it. Because the rich class of Democrats, they've got the extra money to play with. And you think they're paying full price on this stuff? Just look at Hawaii. Look what's happening now. Who do you think is going to swoop in and buy up all that property from people who have lived on that property for generations? I'm looking at these two people in this article. Oprah was one of the first people to publicly try to get into Maui. I'm sure her initiative isn't exactly as rosy gold and pretty as it seems. To her, helping these fundraisers and stuff like that, that's a drop in the bucket to the amount of money that she'll make if she can get her hands on those properties down there. That money is diamonds. Or that land is diamonds. Everybody wants them. But the people who already live there want to stay there. And if what I'm hearing, what was his name, Green? From what I'm hearing is Green is going to use police powers to take that property from them. And so that means the government is going to sell that land to people just like them, pennies on the dollar. They're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. Maybe not them specifically, but there's going to be all kinds of property investors that are going to come in there for pennies on the dollar. They're going to wipe out all those burned down properties, bulldoze down what's left of the bodies, and they're going to pop up condos and malls and all these really expensive properties. And they're going to, like I said, sell them for hundreds of millions of dollars at least, while those families are displaced, living out of apartments across the island, and maybe not even on the island anymore. They might have to come back to the mainland just to afford to get by, as their history is wiped out by a cat dozer. Anyway, I've got to get to work. I think I've ranted long enough on it. This whole administration makes me sick, bro. I pray for the best. I expect the worst, but I pray for the best. My next episode is going to be Saturday, as I do my episodes every other day. I try to get like 48 hours of news stories, kind of see what's happening, make sure I'm not jumping on any stories too early. Like I said, here in the next few weeks, once my scheduling and everything gets kind of leveled out, I'm going to try to, every Sunday is what I'm going to be aiming for. I'm going to try to do a live stream. Probably going to be live streaming Farming Simulator, maybe some RimWorld, kind of getting back into an old game, Space Engineers too, so I might even do that. We'll see how things go. I'll definitely, that's when my Twitch will be launching. Let's see here, where am I? Okay, yeah. That's when the coming soon to Twitch will be launching, and then Kick is going to be right behind it because I want to be streaming to all these platforms at the same time. Twitch and Discord are going to launch at the exact same time. So I'll have a nice little Discord that you guys can come in. You can chat with me about any of these stories that I've talked about in these previous episodes. I'll be more than willing to look at the information that you guys have for me. If you have anything that contradicts any of the stories that I brought forward, I would love to see it, because I want to bring the most honest information possible to the people that I can. You're never going to see me monetize directly through YouTube or any of the other platforms like that. Same thing with Twitch, because I just don't want them to have the control over my show to the point where I can't talk freely. And so it's going to be a very interesting road. I do want to get up some methods to where people can make donations to the show so we can grow it. Once I get to a point of growth or income from this that I don't have to work so much, then I'll be able to do every episode completely live, and we can have live on-air discussions, and we can have a lot of fun with it. Looking to bring more people in on the show. Right now, I was planning on getting into the studio this week. The people there at the local spin that work with me on all of this, they're in a huge fundraising drive right now. They're trying to gain up some more money to expand the studio, and then hopefully in the future move to a new, more modernized studio. So I'm really excited about all that, and I want to help them at every chance that I can. So if you guys can, take some time, go over to YouTube and check out their Get Real America show that they have on there. It's like every day, every weekday they're posting an episode. They're also up on Facebook, so check them out there. If you're on Facebook, give them a follow, give them a like, give them some love. And if you can, help them out with their fundraising campaign. That, you know, we're trying to add honesty and quality culture back into these media spaces. So help us in that vision, help us achieve that goal. So we're not stuck with MSNBCs and CNNs, you know, like Rachel Maddow talking about how Trump wants to be president for life and all this. I don't know if you guys saw that article, but that was wild. We need to get real news, real information out there to the people, and that's what I aim to do. That's why I like the people there at the local spin, and that's what they're aiming to do as well. So give them a shout, give them some love. Guys, my name is Drew Smith. This has been We Talk Freely. Can't wait to see you on Saturday. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of news to report, but until then, take care of yourself and be safe.